Welcome back to Parenting on the Ranch. Today we are going to be making a shoe/mudroom cubby. So hang with us and see how it turns out.
We are a family of 5 living on a ranch in Texas.
On our channel, we will cover a variety of topics. These are solely based on our experience and opinions, and we do not hold any degrees in childhood development or education.
Welcome back to Parenting on the Ranch. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Curtis. So today we are taking our decluttering thing that we did a couple weeks ago one step further. A couple of days ago, we had a kind of a scare in our laundry room where we thought we had a dryer fire type thing, and we basically tore apart our laundry room. So in the midst of doing that, just saw this post on Pinterest.
I saw it a long time ago. I've been waiting.
You could have just went with that. Anyways, this post that she found on Pinterest that she wanted to make, and this is the perfect opportunity to do it. So we figured, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. So we went and got material, and now we're going to go and make it. But before we start making it, please make sure you click on the subscribe button down in the bottom right hand corner, as well as the bell icon, so you don't miss any of the videos that we put out. We put videos out on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Also, follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm going to get busy now.
So we are going to be making 2 different size cubbies. But essentially all the products that you need are the same. You need, we are using 7 1x12s is what it calls for. The girl in the post, she used poplar board. Those boards run approximately $30 a piece, or you could buy your traditional 1x12 by 8 foot, and those run approximately $25 a piece. So I think the total, we have 7, the total would have been about $175. So we went for the more cheaper version because it's going to be stationary, even though it turns out freestanding. And we chose to do 3/4 inch plywood. This one is pre-sanded. Now, sheet of plywood is 4 foot by 8 foot, and we cut it into 4 12-inch wide pieces, and they run 8 foot long. So that's essentially what we need. We ended up with 8 of them, so a little extra over the 7 that it calls for. Doing the plywood option, having Lowe's cut it, ran us about $50 opposed to $175. The other option that you can use is a pre-cut stair stringer. If you just want to go that option, if you don't feel very comfortable with the saw. I don't know how much that would range you in price. The other things that you're going to need for this project are a 90-degree square, speed square. It looks like a triangle, and it has a little lip on one side. A tape measure. She suggests that you measure the first one and then you use the first one as a template to do the next. My husband is going to tape them together and just cut 2 boards at one time. The other 2 things that you're going to need, you can use one of 2 things. You can use a circular saw, or you can use a miter saw just to get your straight cuts. The other thing that you're going to need to cut is a jigsaw. This just basically you can do the corners with, if you want to do the straight shots with the circular saw and then do these with the corner, or you can cut the whole thing with it. So we're going to get started in marking it up, and then we'll show you the cutting process.
So the good thing about this pre-sanded plywood, all the little chink holes are already filled in. As you can see, even ones on the edge, they're all filled in. So because they cut this at Lowe's on their big table saw, we want to make sure that they're perfectly lined up, and then we taped both at the end together. So we are going to be measuring this to her dimensions so it turns out correctly. We're going to be measuring it at 52 inches overall tall. So he's marked the line, and then he's just taping right inside that those two pieces don't come waddling apart. Again, we're going to be using the circular saw to cut. Unfortunately, when we built our carport, we made it to where we have a big long extension cord so we can do all this crazy construction stuff out here.
All right, so now we're going to lay out how we're going to cut these out to do each of the peaks. Now, in the post that we saw, she simply said to use a speed square, lay it out flat to the top, mark it, flip it, mark it, and go all the way down like that. And that's how you do it. So, because in the blog post that she wrote, she used a smaller square. Hers was actually only 6 inches along this, along the hypotenuse of the triangle, where this speed square is a little over 10 inches. So by doing some math, we figured that if we measure out the board at 4 1/4 inches from one side, and we're going to draw a line all the way down it, and then we're going to take our speed square and draw our lines on there, and wherever that 4 1/2 or 4 1/4 mark is where the peak of our triangle is going to be. So let's do that, and I'll show you how it's done over here. So what we're looking for in the measurements that we have is we're looking for 6 peaks along this 52-inch board. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out the 4 1/4. So mark it at 4 1/4 here. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Mark it at 4 1/4. Make several marks along your board to line up a level with, or some kind of straight edge. So once you have several marks made, just line up your level, and you can use anything that has a straight edge, whether it's a yardstick, another piece of this plywood, anything like that. But if you have a level, that's probably the best thing to use. So line it up, hold it down, and draw as far as you can, and then move down to the next set of marks. Okay, so now that we have that line marked, this is going to be the peak of our insets. So we're going to start at the same end that we did. We're going to line up our speed square with our line that we drew, and then make our mark. Then we're going to flip it over, line up our peak as best we can.
Make sure we have like a pristine corner maybe.
You might not want exactly a point, maybe a little bit of a round, so you don't have to get it exactly on there, but get it as close as you can to it. If you go over the line, it's okay too. Then flip, line up the edge with your cross here, the line that you drew last, and your cross piece. Line it up there, make your mark, and then flip it and do it the rest of the way down.
So this is what it looks like. Step back so I can see. So count them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
I like to make sure that I know which one I'm cutting. So in these little triangles that we have here, maybe put a little X or something so you know what is going to fall off, so you don't cut the wrong line. And now we'll take our jigsaw and cut both pieces at once.
So at this next part, we're going to be cutting the actual shelf that goes between the two stair step pieces. We want it overall 2 foot wide. So we're going to measure out 1.5 inches in from the 2 foot mark, or the 2 foot. So we're going to be cutting at 22.5 inches. And we're just going to be using the miter saw to do that. My husband is fortunate enough to have this great miter saw that slides, so we can do quite a good thickness with anything that we cut. So we're going to cut these pieces out for that. There's going to be 7 in total. There's going to be a top and a bottom, and then 5 that go in between the peaks. So here we go. And hopefully it doesn't fall on your foot if you're wearing flip-flops. So here's our first one. 6 more to go.
Okay, so now we're going to be cutting the face boards of these of the shelves that are going to go on the bottom side of the little notches, or the top side rather of the little notches. So basically what we're going to do here, we have the shelf pieces that we put at 22.5 inches. So now we take that piece, put the 2 outside pieces together with it, and measure the entire length to make sure that we have an accurate measurement. Now what this ended up being is 23 1/16 shy of 3/4. So basically 23 3/4 is what the overall width is going to be. So that's what we have to cut these at, with the 16th shy of course, to make sure that it is going to be a good clean fit. You're going to have to cut each of the shelf areas and the front facing areas to the length that you want it. Now in our case, the top of the opening, or the front piece, is 6 inches because that's the angle that we cut it, the length that we cut it. The shelf part of it is 7 5/8 of an inch. So because each one of these pieces that we cut earlier are 12 inches wide by the width that it needs to be, now we need to take and rip these down. Now I'm lucky enough to have a table saw. If you don't have a table saw, you can do it with a saber saw, or a jigsaw rather, or a skill saw, but being these short pieces is not the safest, so please be very careful when you're doing it. If you do it by yourself, if you're lucky enough to have a table saw, do it that way because it's the easiest. So now we're going to go and we're going to cut these off, and we're going to go put it together because this is the last step until we put it together.
Alright, so first thing we had to do is get it all put together, which was probably the hardest part of starting out, is getting it to where it will, get together and stay together. You really do need either 2 people doing this or a good set of clamps. The second one we made, I was actually able to do it by myself, but I had to have 2 big clamps to hold the whole thing together. But we just glued the ends of them and nailed them on the sides just to hold them in. And then once that was done, the nails were fine and we were able to move on. Moving on here, we're doing the bottoms of it. We actually have it upside down right now, so it's easier to glue. But this is actually the bottoms of each of the shelves, and you'll see here in just a second when we turn it over. But we simply put some glue on the edges there, put the boards on, and tacked them down with a nail gun. And then just went and siliconed all of the joints, all of the open areas that didn't really look really great. We are going to end up painting this, so she just wanted to make sure it was sealed up, make sure nothing would fall through the cracks, so to speak, and cover up all the nail holes and stuff like that. There were a couple of them that had very big holes, like as you see here on the bottom, and she actually ended up having to use a lot of caulk, which took a long time to dry, but we were able to get it done, and it looks really good. And we'll show you a picture here in just a second. So after everything was done, all the caulking was done, it was built and all that, it was time to paint it. We were painting it our wonderful cowboy boot brown, which is a typical color that we have here in our house. And it does take a lot of painting. I painted the other one, the second piece that we have, and it's about 4 of these cubby areas instead of 6. And it took me a little bit to do. So we did get this all painted, all looking nice and pretty for everybody. And it turned out really great in our laundry room to put all the kids' shoes in. And the smaller one we made for sunglasses and hats and stuff like that. But this worked out really great. I think they looked really nice, or they ended up looking really nice. It was a great idea that my wife had to do this. Unfortunately, we did not get all of it recorded on the painting. But we do have a couple nice pictures here. This is looking into our laundry room as coming in the back door with the cubbies on the left. And this is them filled up. The kids are on the bottom, and then my wife and I's cubbies is on the top.
So we hope that you like this video. Maybe it gives you a little inspiration on how you can upgrade or how you can reorganize your bedroom / laundry room or just entryway. This shelf is going to turn out to be a great need in our family because we have an abundance of shoes, especially in the winter. We can never find a place to put those sunglasses, hats, and everything.
Wow.
So, again, I hope that you like this video. Until next time, happy DIY and happy parenting.